1948.
Right.
So the 48s were out, and then you must have seen the new 49, which was that really aerodynamic
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the nickname that they
Well,
gave that thing.
the bathtub.
The bathtub.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Okay. We also call it the air flight, but the bathtub is a more common one. And you saw those undergoing testing?
Oh yes.
Yeah. How did they hold up on that torsional?
Did fine.
Yeah.
In fact, I bought one of the used ones.
Ah, okay. Okay. And then the 49 and the 50 and the 51 all had that same bathtub style, but then the 52 came out, and that was that really glamorous one by Pininfarina. Did that hold up as well? It seemed to me like that was a little bit lighter at first.
Yeah, I can't even remember the name of the thing, but they didn't sell very well.
Oh, okay.
So.
Now you're talking about the 52 Ambassador?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Okay, because we also had, around that same time, Pininfarina had the sports car that came out, the Nash Heritage.
Okay. Well, those didn't sell very well. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna, yeah, that was a real expensive car. Beautiful
it
car.
Was.
But a very expensive. Did you ever get one of those?
I know. I never owned one.
Yeah.
We had them around in the fleet.
Oh, you did?
But then there's only 2 or 3. Something like that.
Now, would they run a car like that even over the torsional test and the water test?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. Oh, okay. That must have been an expensive test if anything broke, because those cars were, I think they cost about twice what an Ambassador cost. Tell us a little bit more about who you worked for. You worked for that Tree fella in
oh yeah,
Tree.
okay.
But when you went to Dynamometer, was that a different?
Yes, and when I went to Dynamometer, I worked for a fellow by the name of E.J. Pobar.
Okay.
And in fact, I've written out a list of the names I remember.
Oh, okay.
Only about 20, something like that.
That's pretty good.
But Pobar had charge of all the dynamometer work. So he, well, you had your own dynamometer house. There were about 8 of them, and each guy had his own house, and you'd get a worksheet as to what this engine was going to do, and then you'd rig it up and start out. And some of it was strictly carburation, some of it was valve life, all kinds of that sort of thing.
And this would be an engine just sitting on a shelf or on a fixture with. That's right. With a gas line hooked up and the water inlet and an exhaust, and then you could just run them. I've seen the dynamometer rooms that Nash had for the aircraft engines, but I've never seen the ones for the regular. I would imagine they probably look about the same.
Well, it was a large cast iron bed plate with stands that you could raise and lower with a crank and lock them in. And you just used a dial indicator to get the axis of the crankshaft on the same axis as the well, they were generators.
And that was to put a load on it?
Yeah, to put the load on.
Oh, okay. Now, why did they use a generator?
Well, it's one way of putting a variable load.
Okay.
And you can vary the load right, precisely. And you furthermore can, like these 100-hour tests, they'd run wide open throttle for 100 hours with 3 shifts of guys taking care of it.
Yeah.
And you'd sit there and eat your lunch in the evening, and this thing would be roaring away. And of course, you're looking for any problems, and you had to go take a reading every hour.
Okay, I've seen the charts. You had to write down. And did they track horsepower at certain speeds or certain engine speeds?
Well, it was wide open throttle at the torque peak of the engine.
Oh, okay.
was what the 100-hour was run at.
That's right.
And strangely enough, along about daybreak, when you'd have your most power out of the engine. It would vary slightly, but it seemed like the air was cooler and
sure. Yeah. Well, nowadays I think they know that the cooler the air charge that goes in,
oh yeah,
the more horsepower you develop. That's why they develop that cowl air induction.
Right.
Oh, okay. Huh. Now, the head of your department
was E.J. Poobar.
Okay, all right. And who did he report to?
Earl Munson.
Okay.
M-O-N-S-O-N.
Yeah, that's a name I've seen around. Yeah. And let's see, in that part we had Floyd Kissline. Well, he was up in Kenosha too, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was chief engineer.
He was chief engineer in Kenosha.
And the chain of command was kind of Kissline, Munson, and then they had a few other guy by the name of Voigt, Stuart Voigt.
Oh, sure.
He handled things like transmissions and drive lines and that kind of stuff.
Floyd Kissline is somebody I never got to talk to. He's passed away.
I think you're right.
Yeah, he was a brilliant engineer though. He worked for a lot of companies. Did you ever get to talk to him?
Oh yes. One of his long suit was carburation, and he'd come over and go into the carburetor room, and you'd be taking a carburetor apart, and there's one of the parts of a carburetor is a metering rod that goes through a hole, and the metering rod is made with various diameters, and it raises and lowers with the throttle. So when you're full throttle, you're quite rich. Okay. And it's like a needle. It's about that long and quite small in diameter. And I was in the carburetor room, and I made reference to, I said, that needle doesn't go in that carburetor. And he turned around and he said, that is not a needle, that is a rod. Okay? Metering rod.
And you never forgot that, did you?
That's true.
Kissline had a son.
Yes. He had
yeah, Dick Kissline.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually we've interviewed Dick Kissline.
Okay, good. I just thought.
Yeah, he's up in. Dick Kissline is in Beulah, Michigan. Yeah. And let's see, who were some of... now Nils Wahlberg was still vice president of engineering.
Yes, and he came by a number of times, but it was just to kind of see how things were doing. He was not involved personally, but he was interested in what was going on.
Now, did you ever travel down to Kenosha, to the engineering group in Kenosha?
You mean, that's where I worked.
I mean, I'm sorry, in Detroit, I mean.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm getting myself mixed up here.
Well,
now, did you ever travel from Kenosha down to the Detroit group?
Oh, yes. It happened 2 or 3 times a year, usually when there was some difference of opinion.
Okay.
With the two, and then they put the two guys who had the difference of opinion together and let them bump heads and work it out.
Oh, okay. Now Meade Moore was in Detroit at that time.
Right.
And he was sort of, I guess, assistant, or was he head engineer, chief engineer, Detroit?
I think he was.
Yeah, I think he functioned in that. I don't know if he had exactly that title, but it seems to me that was his function. He was below Nils Wahlberg, chief engineer, but then again, Floyd Kissline was chief engineer in Kenosha.
Right.
Yeah. Did you ever do any work with Meade Moore? Because he's a name that I know a lot of Nash people.
Oh, I did work with his son several times.
Okay.
And I can't remember his son's name at the moment, but
was it John?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I know it too, and it's.
He was a pilot during World War II.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now hold on just a sec.
It's a station wagon.
It's a 4-door.
It's a Rambler. Yes, it's the new Rambler cross-country station wagon, smartest new car on the American highway. It's winning more new buyers every day by packing more glamour and more value into one car than was ever thought possible. No car at any price can approach Rambler's distinctive lines or its special charm. None can maneuver like this or turn so easily in so small a space. And most exciting of all, none can equal Rambler for sheer luxury. For example, even on the hottest days, these folks arrive relaxed, fresh from the comfort of Rambler's refrigerated air conditioning. En route, roads turn carpet smooth because Rambler has much deeper coiled springs on all four wheels. There are even airliner reclining seats that go as far down as you like to nap the youngsters or tilt to rest the driver's back. And those spacious seats have plenty of room for 6 six-footers. Rambler's the perfect family car, a really fine car with all the conveniences you could ask for. Power steering, power brakes, hydromatic transmission. Add to this Rambler's low price, small operating cost, and top trade-in value, and you know why so many thousands are making the smart switch for 56 to Rambler. See the new Rambler cross-country station wagon, the new four-door hardtop sedan, and all the other exciting new Rambler models at your Nash dealers, at your Hudson dealers.
And my name was posted on the board. They said, we're getting a new man, his name is Turtle. And these guys read that thing and they said, nobody's named Turtle, it's got to be Tuttle.
So they called you Tuttle?
Yeah, I was Tut.
Oh, okay.
For a month before they found out that it really was Turtle.
Oh, okay.
I've been Tut ever since.
Oh, okay.
That's what
And
I call
see,
it.
I thought it was Turtle, but it is Turtle, just like the
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Now, what nationality is that?
That's English.
It is. Okay.
Yep. In fact, most wolf, turtle, fox,
Yeah.
so forth, are nearly all English names.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I have an interest in names for some reason. I don't know where, but I've always had it. Now, you did after the dynamometer, you did crash testing, I understand.
Well, there was a station there that I did so-called road testing.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, we were always out of phase. If we'd take a crew of 6 to 8 guys to Bemidji when it was cold there.
To where?
Bemidji, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
When it was cold there.
Oh, I bet it was.
And for heater testing.
Mm-hmm.
Nash did have a good heater.
They had the best.
And when it was 110, we'd be in Yuma, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
No place like that.
Phoenix.
Wow. Now, so, and you drove the cars there?
Yep.
Okay.
Drove them there and drove them home.
And how long would you stay on a trip like that?
2 to 3 weeks.
And would they put you up in hotels or?
In a motel.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that must have been kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
No.
when Seidel was chief engineer,
Yeah.
he got the same idea. Hey, that must be a fun deal. So he came down.
Yeah.
He lasted 2 days. Then he said, is there any car that you're not going to be using down? And he took a trip to the Grand Canyon.
Okay. Yeah. So it was tough. Well, Yuma, I guess, would be.
Well,
Yeah, I guess both of them. Because you're in the cold place at the coldest time of the year and the hot place at the hottest time of the
right.
year.
Yeah.
But you're traveling.
Well, you're working out of a motel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you change radiators when they're hot.
Oh, okay.
And one of the biggest things is hot fuel handling. You put in 8 gallons, it used to be, I think, of the right vapor pressure, and you drive it, park it, and then let it idle so long, and then try to drive away, wide open throttle to 80 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was too much foam in the fuel line, you didn't make it.
Okay. And what happens is that vapor lock?
That's vapor lock,
Okay.
exactly what that is. Yep, that's vapor lock.
And that's caused by
The fuel being too hot, and the pump is pulling on it, trying to pump it, and it actually foamed like beer in the line.
Yeah.
And Packard supplied the first of AMC's 8-cylinder engines because they already had them in production.
Yeah.
And AMC figured that okay, 6s weren't going to sell, V8s would.
Yeah.
And that installation was made in a hurry, and the Packard with that engine would vapor lock in a snowstorm.
Really?
So
okay.
the quick fix was a recirculating line. As they had the standard fuel line up through the pump to the carburetor, and at the carburetor they had a fitting that took a part of the fuel and put it back into the tank.
Oh, okay.
And that was, AMC I think was the first to use that.
Hmm. And it was just, was it that the fuel line was just too close to a manifold, or?
Yep.
Wow.
Especially, well, they learned on that Packard powered V8 to stay away from the hot part. The kick up in the back of the where the rear axle bounces into. They used to go up and over that.
Oh, sure.
And that is hotter than most places.
Oh.
Now they go on the outside of the frame rail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stay away from the heat.
Oh, okay. Now, I wonder what happens in that kick up. The heat just collects there because it's hollowed out? Wow.
Especially when you stop and idle.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, yeah. You got the exhaust under there.
Right.
Wow. Oh, I never knew any of that. Now, other than that, how would you rate the Packard engine when it was put in? That was in '55 they introduced that in the Nash.
I guess so.
Yeah, yeah. How would you rate that?
Well, I think the engine wasn't bad,
Mm-hmm.
but the installation was lousy. They had to change